Let me ask you something personal. You work 40, 50, maybe 60 hours a week. You've scrimped, saved, and finally bought the house. The American dream, right? Picket fence, good school district, a driveway to call your own, and then the tax bill shows up. Not your mortgage, not your insurance, just the privilege of owning the home you already paid for. And it's $12,000, or $18,000, or in some places we're about to talk about, over $24,000 a year. That's $2,000 coming out of your pocket every single month, on top of everything else, just to keep a roof over your family's head. Is it any wonder millions of Americans are packing up and leaving? Not their jobs, not their families, they're leaving their states. We're talking about one of the largest internal migration events in modern American history, and property taxes are a massive piece of the puzzle. Today, we're breaking down the 10 states that are bleeding residents the fastest, and the real numbers that are driving people out. We'll look at who's leaving, where they're going, and, most importantly, if you're thinking about buying a home, what you absolutely need to know before you sign anything. Stick with me to the end because I'll share the one type of market that's actually winning right now because of all this chaos. And if you're new here, I cover real estate, personal finance, and the numbers that actually affect your wallet. So smash that subscribe button and let's get into it. Before we rank these states, let me give you the big picture. According to IRS migration data and the U.S. Census Bureau, Americans have been moving at historic rates. The pandemic lit the fuse, remote work pulled the trigger, and now high property taxes are the thing keeping people from ever moving back. The Tax Foundation reports that the effective property tax rate in the United States averages around 0.99%. That sounds low. But when you live in a state where the rate is 2.2%, 2.4%, or even higher, and you're sitting on a home worth $600,000 or $800,000 or more, the math becomes absolutely brutal. We're going to go through 10 states where this equation has gone completely sideways. And I want to be clear, some of these states are genuinely beautiful places to live. Great schools, great infrastructure, great culture, but beauty doesn't pay your tax bill. Numbers do. So let's look at the numbers, starting at number 10, Connecticut. This is a state that has been losing residents for years, quietly and steadily, like a slow leak in a tire you keep meaning to fix. Connecticut has what real estate professionals call a beautiful problem. The state is gorgeous. Rolling hills, charming colonial towns, easy access to both New York and Boston. But the property tax burden here is among the highest in the nation. According to the Tax Foundation, Connecticut's average effective property tax rate sits at approximately 2.15%, which is nearly double the national average. Now, what does that actually mean in real life? The Census Bureau's American Community Survey shows the median home value in Connecticut is around $340,000. Multiply that by 2.15%, and you're looking at over $7,300 a year in property taxes alone. In Fairfield County, the Gold Coast as they call it, you're staring at $12,000, $15,000, sometimes $20,000 annually. Redfin data shows inventory rising in several Connecticut markets. You might think that means buyers are winning, but rising inventory paired with population outflows is actually a warning signal, not a sale sign. The people leaving Connecticut most aggressively, retirees on fixed incomes, and young families who ran the math and realized they could get the same school quality in a lower-cost state. Where are they going? Florida, the Carolinas, and increasingly, Tennessee. Number 9. Vermont. Vermont is one of the most stunning places in America. The fall foliage alone could make you write a check on the spot. And a lot of people did exactly that, especially during the pandemic. But the romance wore off fast when the tax bills arrived. Vermont carries an effective property tax rate of roughly 1.83%, according to the Tax Foundation. On a $350,000 home, which is modest for many Vermont markets, you're paying over $6,400 a year. But here's the piece most people miss. Vermont has a statewide education property tax. It's not just a local thing. The state government has its hand in your pocket directly, and that rate gets recalculated every year based on education spending. So your bill can jump even if your home's value didn't move an inch. Zillow data shows that while Vermont saw a pandemic-era price surge, the appreciation has cooled significantly. And the Census Bureau's most recent population estimates show Vermont is essentially flat, not growing. For a state that literally offered people money to move there a few years ago, that's telling. The problem isn't just the taxes, it's the combination. High property taxes, a high cost of living, limited job market, and brutal winters. For remote workers who thought they could make it work, many are now discovering they chose the wrong trade-off. Number 8 on our list, and this one surprises people, Wisconsin. Wisconsin doesn't get the headlines that New Jersey or Illinois get, but it absolutely belongs on this list. The Tax Foundation places Wisconsin's effective property tax rate at approximately 1.61%. That puts it solidly in the top 10 nationwide. And Wisconsin is not a state with sky-high home prices, which means these tax rates are hitting middle-class homeowners the hardest. The median household income in Wisconsin is around $67,000, according to the Census Bureau. When you're pulling in $67,000 and paying $5,000 to $8,000 a year just in property taxes, that's a housing burden that leaves very little room for anything else. What's particularly painful in Wisconsin is the municipal variation. Some counties have rates pushing 2.5% or higher. Milwaukee County homeowners have been dealing with relentless assessment increases that have pushed bills up dramatically over the past 5 years. According to Redfin market data, days on market in several Wisconsin metro areas have been climbing. Sellers who bought at peak values during 2021 and 2022 are now discovering the high tax carrying costs are making it harder to find buyers willing to absorb those ongoing costs on top of today's mortgage rates. Number 7, Ohio. Ohio is a state that gets overlooked in these conversations, but it shouldn't be. With an effective property tax rate averaging around 1.53% according to the Tax Foundation, Ohio isn't the worst on this list. But context matters enormously. Ohio is frequently marketed as an affordable alternative to high-cost coastal states, and on home purchase price alone, it is. But the hidden tax burden catches buyers completely off guard. In Cuyahoga County, which includes Cleveland, effective rates in certain municipalities exceed 2.8%. That means a $250,000 home carries a tax bill of $7,000 a year. That's not affordable, that's just a different version of the same trap. The Census Bureau shows Ohio has experienced net domestic outmigration in recent years, more people leaving than arriving from other states. The population is technically growing because of international immigration, but native-born Americans are leaving. Ohio has another problem. Many of its cities carry significant legacy debt, infrastructure costs, pension obligations, that get passed to property owners in the form of tax levies that seem to appear on ballots every few years. If you buy a home in Ohio without researching upcoming levies, you may be in for some unpleasant surprises. Number 6, Michigan. Michigan is a state with a split personality in the real estate market. On one side, you have incredible affordability. Median home prices in many markets are well below the national average. On the other, you have a property tax structure that can be absolutely punishing, especially for non-owner-occupied properties or homes that have changed hands recently. Michigan's Proposal A from 1994 capped how much assessed values can grow annually. Sounds great. But the moment a home is sold, the cap resets to current market value. This means buyers are walking into sharply higher tax bills than what the previous owner paid. It's a hidden cost that doesn't show up in the listing price, and a lot of buyers get blindsided by it. The Tax Foundation puts Michigan's average effective rate at approximately 1.32%, but that state average conceals enormous county-by-county variation. Detroit area counties like Wayne and Oakland can see rates pushing 2% and above. Zillow data shows that home values in Michigan's key markets appreciated significantly during the pandemic. That appreciation means tax assessments are catching up, and buyers who purchased at 2021 or 2022 prices are now starting to feel the full weight of those updated assessments. Number 5, and here's where we start getting into serious pain, Illinois. Illinois is the poster child for fiscal dysfunction and property tax misery in the Midwest. The numbers here are not just high, they're high relative to what you actually get for your money. The Tax Foundation reports Illinois' effective property tax rate at approximately 2.07%, making it one of the top 5 highest in the nation. But here's the context that makes it even worse. Illinois has been losing population for years. The Census Bureau confirmed Illinois lost residents between 2020 and 2023. Not stagnated, lost. People voted with their moving trucks. Why? Because the underlying fiscal problem in Illinois is structural. The state has one of the most underfunded pension systems in the nation. Those pension obligations don't disappear, they get shifted to local property tax levies. You, the homeowner, are essentially backstopping promises made to government workers decades before you even bought your house. In the Chicago suburbs, places like Lake County, DuPage County, Kane County, effective property tax rates frequently run between 2% and 3.5%. On a $400,000 home in one of these counties, you could be paying $10,000 to $14,000 a year, every single year. Redfin has noted that Chicago area suburbs have seen elevated days on market compared to similar suburbs in Texas and Florida. Buyers are doing the math and choosing differently. Where are Illinois residents going? Florida leads the pack, followed by Texas, Indiana, and Tennessee, states where their money actually stays in their pocket. Number 4, and this one genuinely shocks people, New Hampshire. New Hampshire loves to advertise that it has no income tax and no sales tax. Live free or die, right? The state motto is basically a real estate pitch. But what they don't put on the billboard is the property tax rate, which according to the Tax Foundation is approximately 2.09%, one of the highest effective rates in the entire country. In the absence of income and sales tax, New Hampshire funds essentially everything through property taxes, schools, roads, local government. All of it falls on homeowners. The practical result? On a median-priced New Hampshire home, and with the Boston Metro's influence, home values have surged significantly in recent years. Buyers are looking at property tax bills of $8,000, $10,000, or more annually. This is particularly brutal for retirees who relocated to New Hampshire thinking they were escaping taxes. They escaped income taxes and sales taxes, but walked directly into one of the highest property tax regimes in America. The Census Bureau data shows outmigration among the 65 and older demographic in New Hampshire, a group that moved there specifically for tax advantages. The lesson here is always critical. Look at total tax burden, not just one piece of it. No income tax does not mean low taxes. Number 3, New York. Outside of New York City itself, this might surprise you. But upstate New York and Long Island carry some of the highest property tax rates anywhere in America. The Tax Foundation puts New York's effective property tax rate at approximately 1.72% statewide, but that number dramatically undersells what's happening in Westchester County, Nassau County, and Suffolk County. In parts of Westchester, a county north of New York City that many families move to for the schools, effective property tax rates can exceed 2.5% on assessed value. On a $600,000 home, that's $15,000 a year. And that's before you factor in New York State income tax, which is one of the highest in the nation. The SALT cap, the federal deduction limit for state and local taxes, hit New York homeowners especially hard. Before 2017, high earners could deduct unlimited property and state income taxes from their federal returns. Now they're capped at $10,000. For someone paying $15,000 in property taxes alone, that's a direct hit to their bottom line that made an already painful situation significantly worse. Redfin shows that Long Island and Westchester markets have seen increased inventory as empty nesters list homes and head to Florida or the Carolinas. The school district that attracted them is the same school district they're now paying $18,000 a year to be adjacent to, even after their kids graduated years ago. Number 2, and here's the one that nobody talks about honestly, Texas. Yes. Texas. Texas has no state income tax. Texas has grown incredibly fast. Texas has been the #1 destination for people fleeing California, Illinois, and New York. All of that is real. But Texas has a property tax problem that is quietly devastating the very people who moved there expecting relief. According to the Tax Foundation, Texas's effective property tax rate is approximately 1.60%. That places it in the top 10 in the nation. And because Texas home values have surged dramatically since 2020, the dollar amount of those bills has exploded. Here's the real trap. Texas is a no-income tax state, but the state still needs revenue, so it leans heavily on property taxes to fund schools, county services, and infrastructure. The result is that many Texas homeowners are paying property tax bills that rival what they fled in their origin states. In the Dallas-Fort Worth suburbs, it's not unusual to see effective rates of 2.1%, 2.3%, even 2.5% in certain school districts. On a $400,000 home, a perfectly ordinary home in DFW right now, that's $8,000 to $10,000 a year. Zillow shows that DFW and Austin home values surged 40–50% between 2020 and 2023. Assessed values took a year or two to catch up, but they have. And homeowners who bought at peak are now getting assessment notices that reflect those peak values, producing tax bills they never anticipated. The Texas exemption system helps primary homeowners. The homestead exemption caps annual assessment increases at 10%, but it's still a system that is accelerating faster than many household incomes. And we've arrived at number 1, New Jersey. No surprise to anyone who lives here, has ever lived here, or has accidentally glanced at a New Jersey property tax bill. The state holds the undisputed title of the highest average property tax rate in the entire United States, and has held it for years. The Tax Foundation confirms New Jersey's effective property tax rate at approximately 2.23%. That is more than double the national average. But it's the dollars that hit hardest. The New Jersey Department of Community Affairs reports that the statewide average property tax bill has exceeded $9,000 per year. And that's the average, meaning the median New Jersey homeowner is paying over $750 a month just in property taxes. In Bergen County, Essex County, Morris County, the bills regularly climb to $14,000, $18,000, $20,000, and beyond. We're talking about places where the annual property tax bill exceeds the annual rent in several major American cities. The IRS migration data is unambiguous. New Jersey has been losing high-income residents and the adjusted gross income that comes with them at a dramatic rate. These aren't struggling families who can't make it. These are doctors, lawyers, executives, business owners, people with options who have looked at the math and decided the math doesn't work anymore. The SALT cap made it catastrophically worse. Residents who previously deducted $18,000 or $20,000 in property taxes from their federal income can now only deduct $10,000. The difference comes directly out of their pocket. For a family in the 32% federal tax bracket, that's over $20,500 in additional federal taxes per year, on top of the bill itself. And here's what really drives the resentment in New Jersey. It's not just that the bills are high, it's that they keep going up year after year with no ceiling in sight. Local governments have grown, education budgets have expanded, pension obligations have compounded, and the homeowner is the one standing at the bottom of that waterfall with a bucket. The towns with the highest bills, and we're talking about places where $24,000 annually is the average, have begun seeing the very thing that sustained their real estate values start to crack. Inventory is rising, longtime residents are selling, the buyers replacing them are younger, have less equity cushion, and are more sensitive to carrying costs at 7% mortgage rates. It is not a collapse, not yet, but it is a correction, and it's driven entirely by people who got tired of paying rent to a government for a home they own. So, what does all of this actually mean for you? If you're buying a home in the next 12 months, property taxes are not an afterthought. They are a core underwriting variable. Before you fall in love with a house, look up the county assessor's website. Find the actual tax bill from the last 3 years, not the estimate, the actual bill. Then calculate your total monthly housing cost, mortgage principal and interest, property taxes, homeowners insurance, HOA if applicable. That total number is your real payment. If property taxes push that number above 30% of your gross monthly income, you are stepping into financial stress, regardless of how beautiful the house is. The states that are winning right now, the ones seeing net population inflows and healthy real estate markets, share a pattern. They either have no income tax with controlled property taxes, or they have both in check. Tennessee, Florida, South Carolina, and parts of the Mountain West are absorbing this migration, and their real estate markets are pricing in accordingly. If you're already living in a high-tax state and feeling the squeeze, you are not alone and you are not imagining it. The data backs you up completely. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, which state do you live in? What's your annual property tax bill? And are you thinking about leaving? I read every comment and I respond to as many as I can. If this video gave you something useful, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach people who need to hear this information. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. We drop new real estate and finance content every week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.